we had really no idea how successful it would be. So it wasn't our intention that it would be a regular thing, but we thought that it was possible that it might. And of course it did. That was very much down to Andrew Wilby, because the Leicester Ringers won the first competition. Andrew was in Leicester at the time. Andrew is, as I'm sure you're aware, an ideas man.
We decided that if once we got there, Pete Staniforth, who was, many people remember his name, the late Peter Staniforth, was nominated to stand up and invite everybody back to Leicester next year, which we duly did. At this point, the Cumberlands said that, well, yes, if it was called a contest, they'd come, but not if it was a competition. So the word went out from us all, don't argue with it. If that's the terms, we'll call it a contest and all will be fine. So that's what we did, and the Cumberlands joined in.
We moved on to Leicester the second year, which I also took part in for the College Youths. I think we also came second there.
So the first national contest was at St Margaret's, Leicester.
His enthusiasm ensured that the competition was repeated the next year, and his enthusiasm, I think, then led, well, for that competition to the construction of and awarding of the Taylor Trophy.
One of the things that cropped up then is just nobody did anything about a trophy, and some of the Leicester Ringers were saying, oh, we'll use the Hancock Trophy again. Well, that was a one-off, and I think it was already nailed up in Leicester Cathedral. And that was clearly the wrong thing. So I got on to Paul Taylor and said, could he provide a trophy? Which he did. Actually, he provided the shield and said his carpenter had got bubonic plague or something or other. So I got my father to help, and we manufactured the rest of the trophy in his workshop. And it became known as the Taylor Trophy, and Paul Taylor was appointed president of the contest, which a post he held to the end of his life.
And after that, I think the competition started to acquire a life of its own. I think Andrew has a lot to answer for. I think we have a lot to thank Andrew for, because I think without Andrew, it might well not have happened.
The number of applicants started to grow, and the judges started saying they couldn't handle more than 6 bands. It was really very, very difficult for judges in those days, with no basic experience and practice at doing it, to judge 12-bell ringing with the intensity that it has for the period of time. And the judges are saying, if you make us judge more than 6 bands, we can't guarantee we get the result right, and that sort of thing. So we had a limit of 6 to start with. It's now grown, but that meant we had to go into holding eliminators. And the background to this was, in order to organize it, we understood that the people taking part needed to put up a representative each, and there needed to be a committee to organize it. Otherwise, leaving it to an individual band would probably be a prescription for disaster, if not argument.
So this was the birth of the committee as we know it today.
Absolutely, and it was driven by needing to share the responsibility and make sure we organised a contest, basically, and not an argument, to put it that way.
So just prior to that, Andrew, if you might, if you just go back those early contests, who was deciding what was being rung? Was it by mutual decision and agreement, or was it the host tower?
The first one at Leicester, it was the Leicester Ringers decided the test piece, and because St Margaret's, Leicester were fairly notorious and difficult, they thought it would be good fun for everybody else to be made to ring Stedman sinks till you get to 1-3-2, and then ring Cambridge from the wrong to the home. So, in other words, in those days, people thought there'd be a change of speed between Sinks and Maximus, and the poor old tenor ringer would be left ringing Maximus too fast and struggling. And they thought that would disadvantage everybody else.
That's really cruel.
You see, well, that started straight away. And you could see how fatal that would be to a contest in the long term. So there was a necessity to make it more democratic, get it organised by the bands taking part, and share the responsibility for it. And that's what we did. I mean, I'm thinking of some of the meetings we held, one in a car outside St Sepulchre's Holborn for some reason. And some of the people who played a big part in the formation of the committee, there was John Chilcott and Mike Chilcott from St Paul's, Jim Dizerans from Reading, Chris Kippin from Bristol. Did I mention Rod Pipe from Birmingham? John Jelly from Leicester. They were some of the guiding lights who helped shape the whole thing in the first place. And you know, it's a team effort, and I think we really, well, we achieved something that's lasted